Hey there, Love Squad. Kylie asked me to film a video about myself, so I know this is probably going to be a little long, but I thought it was better to get my personality across through video than it is through writing, and I love doing videos. So my name is Sandra Fuentes, and I'm an Executive Director Council member with Passion Parties. I've been a consultant with Passion Parties since the end of 2004. My sponsor is Sherry Lynn Wren. I knew that this was something I really wanted to do. I was working full-time as a hairstylist, had 2 kids, married, and I wanted something like this to do for a fun side gig. And when Sherry Lynn had said she signed up to do this, I'm like, shut up, where do I sign? And she did not want to sign me up because she didn't want to be a leader. And I said, you're going to sign me up because I want to do this. So she eventually signed me up, and, through that time, me and her have morphed into becoming business partners and best friends. It's quite awesome. I worked my business, did my parties and stuff like that, and I really did more parties than I thought. I live in an area, Southern Alberta. I live in Lethbridge, Alberta. Southern Alberta, where I live, there's about 100,000 people within a radius, Lethbridge and area. I honestly thought I would be out of doing parties within a year of starting my business. I thought I would do all the parties that Lethbridge had room for in my year. Little would I know, almost 10 years later, here I am still working. So I signed my first consultant in January of 2005, which is Patty Snyder's block, and we knew each other before, and I knew she would be fabulous for this. Signed her up in 2005, and Patty is the one who really gave me motivation to keep my business going, because she's a go-getter, and she would go, and watching her have that fire under her to get moving is what inspired me to move my business, because I really saw it happen. I didn't ever know anybody who was successful in direct sales who did it authentically. And I knew that I wanted to be true to myself and be who I am and be successful. And I did not think that could happen. So to see Patty, make this business happen really inspired me to do more. So I signed up a few people, and it took me quite a while to hit executive director. I hit executive director at the beginning of 2007. No, sorry, 2007. Yeah, 2007. I became an executive director. But in that time, I had a third child, and I, due to having to go on bed rest and stuff like that, I had to quit my job as a full-time hairstylist, and that is what got me into doing this as a full-time business. I did not want to have to go back to work and send my third child to daycare. I never sent any of my kids to daycare. So I booked a trade show while I was on mat leave, and at that trade show I booked 22 parties. 22 parties off of a 4-day trade show. That set me up. Everything that I have with my business now, I can attribute to that trade show I did. Those 22 parties set me up for the success I have, and in those 22 parties I became team manager and then executive manager. So that was the best move I ever could have made my whole entire life. So 2007, I go to my first convention as a brand new executive director in first month car bonus qualification. My team was doing car bonus numbers before I hit executive director, which lit a fire under my butt. I needed to get this going so I could become a car bonus achieving team. So I go to my first convention in 2007, was mystified and amazed by how awesome it was. I got to meet my American upline. I got to meet all the rest of the Canadians that I only talked to online, and I got to see how everyday people became successful at this business. It was very overwhelming for me. I had never been to Vegas, never been to a convention like this, and I was hooked. That was it. I was never missing a convention, and I was doing what I could. I came home on fire. I was ready to make things happen. 8 days later, after coming home, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. Now, I was still nursing my 18-month-old at the time, so we had a lot of changes happening in our family. I was heading off to EDLA in May, and I had to not go to that because I had to have surgery and start chemotherapy. So in April of 2007, I had a bilateral mastectomy. 6 weeks later, I started chemotherapy, and by the end of 2007, I had finished my treatment. I had gone on to do radiation, and and stuff with the cancer. So it took me quite a while to recover from that. I went to convention in 2008 with a team that had done over $500,000 in sales, but of course I didn't get paid as an executive director each month. My first level went down to 5 consultants because I had a hard time keeping up. I could not work my business the way I wanted to in that time I was going through treatment. But I knew I wanted to keep this business going. So I did my minimums. I did what I had to do. I did parties. I had treatments every 3 weeks, and I knew on that weekend before my next treatment is when I was going to book those parties. So I did 2, maybe 3 parties a month max. That was all I could physically handle to do. And I had a lot of help from the Passion Angels putting orders underneath me to just at least keep my minimums, to make sure that I could get that downline check to help my family, support my family through what I was going through. So, going to convention in 2008 was a little defeating, knowing that my team physically did the sales. I still had my minimums in, but I did not do any sponsoring. And, Passion Parties was gracious enough to still recognize me as a $500,000 achieving leader, because they know deep down that my business would have even surpassed that had I been able to physically work. And that's one thing I love about Passion Parties is, Joanne has a heart. She really wants to make sure her consultants are taken care of, and she understands everyday life things happen. So 2008, I ended up having another surgery, and it was not fun. That set me back a couple more months, but I was able to build my team back up to being an executive director and a car bonus achieving team. And I had to requalify for car bonus, because after you don't hit car bonus for 6 months, whether you don't have your sales, you don't get paid as an executive director, or your team doesn't do the sales, you don't get paid. So I had to build my way back up to be a car bonus achieving leader again. And, once I set my mind to doing it, that is what I had to do. So, I did all that, and in 2010, I had my reconstructive surgery, and I became an Executive Director Council member in that year. So that was my first year to be on the Executive Director Council member after having my reconstructive surgery. And that was a really hard one to recover from too, but I've been through this before, and I know how to take my time to heal and restart my business after. And don't be afraid to ask for help from my upline or my downline. Say, look, I'm short like $500 in sales. Can somebody help me? And that's the awesome thing about the sisterhood of this business. So I've been an Executive Director Council member since then. Last year, my team did over $800,000 in sales, and this year we're on track to be just below MDC. So we'll see what happens in the end of this year, but we're on track to hit just over $900,000 for this year. This year, I finished writing a book on my breast cancer journey. It's called How I Kept My Head When I Lost My Breast, and it was a very emotional journey for me, but it was something I knew I had to do. And that's the beauty of Passion Parties. I met people through me being with Passion Parties that led me to be able to write my book. And it's a part of who I am. It's a part of my journey. I've branded myself this year. I'm the Diva with a Difference, and I inspire you to create a passionate life. And that's my business brand, and everything I do falls off of my business brand. And that's what I love about owning my own business and Passion Parties as my vehicle. I can brand myself, and that leads me to be my authentic self and who I am. And I'm different, and I love to be different, and I love to be unique. And that's how I am, and that's how I roll. So that's me in a nutshell. Sandra Fuentes, Executive Director Council member with Passion Parties, and I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit about me, and I cannot wait to see your successes. Bye, Love Squad.